There is an airport in Japan that sits in the middle of the ocean. It does not rest on solid ground. It was built on an artificial island that engineers created from nothing, right inside Osaka Bay. That island cost Japan over $20 billion to build. And from the very first day, it has been slowly sinking into the sea. This is not a rumor. This is not an exaggeration. Every single year, the island goes a little deeper into the water beneath it. Some parts have already sunk more than 13 meters since construction began. And yet, every single day, hundreds of flights land and take off from that airport. Passengers walk through its terminals, drink coffee at its cafes, and board their planes without knowing that the ground under their feet is losing its battle with the ocean. The airport is called Kansai International Airport. And its story is one of the most extraordinary engineering stories in modern history. To understand why Japan built an airport in the middle of the sea, you have to understand the problem Japan was facing in the late 20th century. Osaka is one of the most crowded cities in the world. The land around it is completely packed with buildings, roads, and houses. There is almost no empty space anywhere. The old airport, called Atami, was sitting right in the middle of residential neighborhoods. Every time a plane took off or landed, the noise shook the windows of homes nearby. People could not sleep. Children could not concentrate in school. The complaints never stopped. The government tried to solve the problem for years, but there was no solution on land. There was simply no room to build a new airport anywhere near the city. Then someone had an idea that seemed almost impossible. If there was no land available, they would make new land. They would build an artificial island inside Osaka Bay, place the airport on top of it, and keep the noise away from the city. The ocean would act as a natural barrier. No homes nearby. No complaints. It sounded brilliant. But nature had other plans. The engineers who designed Kansai knew from the beginning that building on water would be dangerous. The seabed of Osaka Bay is not hard rock. It is soft clay, the kind that absorbs water like a sponge and shifts under pressure. When you place millions of tons of rock and concrete on top of soft clay, the clay slowly compresses. The ground sinks. The engineers knew this would happen. They calculated how much sinking to expect and designed the airport to handle it. The problem was that their calculations were wrong. Not a little wrong. Very wrong. Construction began in 1987. Workers spent years dumping enormous amounts of rock and earth into the bay to build the island. Mountains near Osaka were literally cut apart and carried to the site by ships. The work went on day and night. The island slowly rose out of the water, meter by meter, year by year. It was a spectacular sight. People watching from the shore could see the ocean giving way to land that had never existed before. But underneath the surface, something alarming was happening. The soft clay of the seabed was compressing far faster than expected. The island was sinking at nearly double the predicted rate. Engineers installed hundreds of sensors across the island to monitor every movement of the ground. The numbers coming back were frightening. The island was not just sinking. It was sinking unevenly, with some sections going down faster than others, which meant the entire structure was slowly tilting. To fight the uneven sinking, the engineers came up with a solution that had never been tried on this scale before. They inserted over 1 million sand columns into the seabed beneath the island. These columns worked like drainage pipes. They allowed the water trapped inside the clay to escape slowly and steadily, which helped the clay compress in a more even and controlled way. It was a massive operation, but it worked well enough to keep the project moving forward. Kansai International Airport finally opened in September 1994. It was celebrated as a triumph. The terminal building was designed by the famous Italian architect Renzo Piano, and it was breathtaking. A single roof stretched over a length of nearly 2 kilometers, curving gently like a wave. The building felt like the future. Passengers walked through it in awe. Airlines from around the world brought their flights in. Japan had proven that it could do the impossible. But the sinking never stopped. It just became part of daily life at the airport. The terminal building itself became the next engineering challenge. As the island sank and shifted, the building began to tilt. If nothing was done, the entire structure would become unstable. So engineers installed nearly 1,000 hydraulic jacks beneath the terminal building. These jacks allowed workers to raise different sections of the building independently, compensating for the uneven ground beneath. Every few months, teams would work through the night, quietly lifting parts of the building by tiny amounts, inserting steel plates into the gaps, and restoring the floor to level. Passengers inside never noticed. They walked on smooth, even floors while below them, a silent mechanical battle was being fought every week. The $20 billion price tag was just the beginning. The ongoing cost of maintaining the island, monitoring its movement, adjusting the building, and reinforcing the seabed has added billions more over the decades. Critics called it one of the most expensive mistakes in infrastructure history. Some economists argued that Japan should simply accept the loss and close the airport. But closing was never really an option. Kansai had become essential to the region. It operated 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, something the old Atami airport could never do because of noise restrictions. Closing it would have meant losing a critical gateway to international travel for millions of people in one of Japan's most important economic regions. Then, in January 1995, something happened that changed how the world looked at Kansai. A massive earthquake struck the city of Kobe, just 40 kilometers away. Buildings collapsed. Highways fell apart. The port was destroyed. Over 6,000 people lost their lives. It was one of the deadliest disasters in Japan's modern history. Kansai International Airport survived almost completely intact. The very qualities that made the island seem so vulnerable, its soft foundation, its flexible design, its ability to absorb and adjust, turned out to protect it from the earthquake. The island moved with the shaking instead of breaking against it. The terminal building flexed but did not crack. Kansai became one of the few major structures in the region that could still operate normally in the days after the earthquake, allowing emergency supplies and rescue workers to reach the disaster zone. The airport that everyone called a $20 billion mistake had just saved lives. Today, Kansai International Airport continues to sink. The rate has slowed significantly over the years as the clay beneath it has compressed further. But it has not stopped. Engineers still monitor every centimeter of movement. The hydraulic jacks still operate. The steel plates still get inserted. The battle between human engineering and the ocean floor continues quietly, every single day. What Japan built in Osaka Bay is more than an airport. It is a reminder that nature does not care about budgets, deadlines, or national pride. The ocean will always push back. The ground will always move. The only question is whether the people who built something are willing to keep fighting to maintain it, not for a year or a decade, but forever. Japan answered that question with $20 billion and 40 years of sleepless nights. The airport is still standing. The planes are still landing. And the island is still sinking.